Hello everybody, this is a Think Differently Thursday, and we've had a break. We've not been doing this for August, but it's so lovely to be back. Some things in life have changed a little bit, and the timing of Think Differently Thursday has changed. We are now doing this at 5 o'clock. Just aware that maybe people are back at work and things are a little bit different. I'm back at school. This has been a school day for me. So here we are, but everything else is just the same. And it is lovely to be here. I'm so pleased that people are with us, and I'm super pleased that I'm chatting today to Judith. So hello, Judith.
Hi there, Helen. It is so good to see you and to talk with you, because I see you a little bit as we watch in on the Forge week by week. So it's lovely to chat as well as say hello.
Oh, I'm so pleased that you're chatting. Now, Judith, I've known of you and I've known you for many, many years, but there will be people that don't know you. So do you want to just briefly tell us who you are?
Okay, so I am Judith. I am married to Ronnie, and I have two boys, James and Daniel, who are 27 and 26. Or very shortly to be 26.
Literally, Judith, how does that happen? It's such a cliche, isn't it? But it is like yesterday we were having babies, and now here they are all grown up, and and I know mine are similar age, so I know that's what happened, but it never surprises me when people tell me how old their children are. What are your boys up to?
So James is married to Rachel, that he met at St Andrews University. He's an actuary, and please don't ask me what actuaries do, because I'm really not sure. It's something to do with pensions and calculations and mathematics of some kind. And they live in Edinburgh. And Daniel is an electrical engineer, and he works on the oil rigs. So he flew out actually this morning. Out to Charlie's 40, and so he works out on the rig.
Amazing, proper grown-ups doing their thing. My daughter Zoe has been recently converting old VSH tapes from when the kids were tiny, and putting them onto memory sticks. So I'm literally going back 25 years and reliving some of that time. It's incredible. It's kind of it's almost made me think sometimes, 25 years of being a parent, if I was to do it all over again now, I think I'd be pretty good at it.
I'd be much better second time around, as long as I know what I know now.
yes, because you're just learning, aren't you? And I said to somebody at school the other day, I think parenting is just when you kind of feel like, I've got it, I've got this stage, I understand how this stage works, and then it changes, doesn't it?
It does. You're absolutely right.
How have you found it? How have you found the whole parenting journey?
I really love it now. Really love it. I so enjoy their company. They are brilliant fun to be with. And it is so lovely to sit round a meal table and not say, eat that, eat your vegetables, stay sitting. And so they are such good company now, and I love my boys to bits. But I think parenting, it's a journey, isn't it? And
it really is.
Downs and highs and lows, and but I loved it. Actually, I loved being a parent. And
me too. I think it sounds similar to you. I think I've loved every stage, but I've always liked the next stage more. I've never wanted to go back to a stage. I've always loved it, and I love parenting grown-up children and doing life with them, as you say. Just brilliant. Absolutely love it. So you said about the boys being in Scotland, and I know that's where you live now. So what is it that has taken you to Scotland? How is it you're in Scotland?
So I married Ronnie, who was in the Royal Air Force. And so when he was working here at Wattisham is when I met him, and he has then moved around, and that's why we're in Scotland. So he was posted to RAF Kinloss, 24 years ago, 23 years ago now, something like that. Amazing length of time anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And so recently on Think Differently, I spoke to a friend of mine who's an army wife. So she talked a little bit about, you know, what that has been like, and some of the time that she's been very much on her own at home with the kids. And she hasn't done loads of moving around, but I guess that's been a similar experience for you. Has there been periods of time where Ronnie's been away and so that you've been home with the boys on your own?
Yeah, so I mean, actually, right now, Ronnie
Okay.
is in America, in Florida, for
Okay.
6 and a bit months.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's, yeah, long time away. So he left in July, and won't come back technically until 18th of January. So yeah,
Wow.
that's a long time away.
And so what's the secret to that? How do you maintain good communication and relationship when you're doing that at a distance, and you've done that at a distance lots of times over your marriage?
Yeah.
What's the secret?
Well, this time round it is so much easier because we
Yeah.
have Skype and Zoom and WhatsApp and all those kind of means to keep in touch. I remember when we were first engaged, he was in Belize for 6 months in Central America, and the only means we had of communicating was writing those little blue
Yes,
airgram
airmail.
type
Yes.
things,
Yeah.
and the Air Force called them blueies, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so we used to write those every day, and that was our
Wow.
only means of getting in touch. And because the post was like crazy, you would not have anything for a week and then you'd get 6 in one go.
Right.
So Ronnie used to number them just so I'd know which order to read
Sort
them
of
in.
open. Have you kept them all? Have you still got them?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so sweet. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Um, and Judith, I recognise the room that you're sitting in, because I know you're not in Scotland at the moment, but you're in
No.
Suffolk, and you talked about
Yeah.
Wattisham. And I know you have some Suffolk connections. Tell us, because not everybody watching will know, unless they can see a family likeness. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell us who your family are that are here in Suffolk.
So I'm Bob and Eunice's daughter, and I am Steve's sister.
You
And
are.
I'll let everyone guess whether I'm Steve's older sister or younger sister.
Put it in the comments. Do you think Judith is older or younger? Be careful. Be careful.
Yeah.
um,
Be kind.
Clearly, you're his younger sister. I don't even know what we're questioning. Judith, Steve on Sunday was talking about marriage, and he was talking about relationships, and talking about how we need to look at ourselves and be humble. Great teaching, as always. I just thought it'd be really
Yeah.
good, and it'd be really humbling for Steve if you could spill the beans on him, because you're his sister and you must
Yeah.
have something that you could tell us that we need to know
I
about
do. I
Steve.
have some great stories to tell you.
How
However,
long have we
most
got?
of them incriminate me just as much as it does him. So my
Right.
lips are sealed.
Oh, not even a tinsy tiny one.
Not even a little teensy
Oh,
tiny one, I'm
Judith,
afraid.
you are a good
Yeah.
sister. You are a good sister.
No, actually, the truth is he has a lot more to throw at me than I have to ever tell you about him.
Great. We'll find something at some point. No, Judith, one of the things that I remember about you from so long ago, and I think this is going back to like the 1980s, was that you were heavily involved with Mission England. Have I remembered rightly? Yeah.
You're
So
right,
let
yeah.
me just, for people that perhaps that means nothing to, because they're so young, maybe. So Mission England was just a massive mission across England, funnily enough, with a big, well-known American evangelist called Billy Graham. And they were quite phenomenal days, weren't they? As churches, we built up to the time that Billy Graham was coming for so long, weeks and weeks, months and months of planning, because he did his missions in football stadiums. And so for us here in Suffolk, we were working towards those evenings where Portman Road would be taken over. I remember a big thing was prayer triplets. We'd been encouraged as Christians to pray in threes for 3 people and have the aim of inviting them along. And the stadiums were full of people, weren't they? absolutely full. And Billy
Absolutely.
Graham at the end of the evening would make a call, he'd invite people to become Christians, and people would get up out of their seats. It was quite a phrase, wasn't it? Get up out of your seat and come forward, and people became Christians. It'd be fantastic to know, actually, if we've got anybody listening who became a Christian in and around that time, or as a result of one of those Mission England events. But you were involved, weren't you? I mean, I was somebody that knew about it, took people along, and as a church we got involved. But you were quite involved with, well, tell us, what was your part in it? It was an exciting time, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it was an amazing time. So my very first job was actually working in Stowmarket Health Centre, and I was a secretary to a couple of the doctors there. And I'd been doing that about a year. And I remember having a conversation with Victor Jack, who asked me, did I see myself in that job for a long time? And I says, no, I think change is afoot, but I've no idea what.
Right.
And so he then said, well, would you think about perhaps becoming a secretary or some admin support for the Mission England team? And they had a little porter cabin in Portman Road, and John Sherman was like the office manager guy there. And so I went along and had an interview and got the job. And so, yeah, so worked for a whole year before Mr. Graham actually came to the country to start his missions, sort of setting up,
So what was your role? Were you kind of liaising with churches that were involved? Because there were all sorts of things, there was a choir, and there were stewards, and there were buses, and was that all, were you involved in all of that?
Yeah, so each of the areas had a leader, and then each within the whole of Suffolk and surrounding areas were divided up into little sub areas, and each of those sub areas had somebody kind of coordinating their areas. So we did a lot of kind of working with those kind of people and getting the information literature courses set up and run out and that kind of thing. So yeah, really exciting.
Sounds like a really exciting time. We don't do mission like it anymore, do we? Do you think that was like of its time? I sort of remember before that, big tent missions that at times we would be involved with, but mission has really changed to a much more personal kind of invitation and evangelism, doesn't it? Do you think it's been a transition over time with how mission has changed?
Definitely. I mean, they were incredible days, and I do remember, sort of walking out onto that football field the first night and seeing nearly 2,000 people becoming Christians, and it just blew my mind. I didn't know if it was going to work, even though you'd kind of worked for him
for a year.
You're just thinking, I'm not sure, is this really going to happen? And then all these people flood forward, and you just think, I can't believe this. So it was incredible, but it was so costly, I think, financially, in time, in personnel, the number of people that it took to organise something like that from the UK side as well as from the American side. And I think, Mr. Graham was kind of just one of those singly anointed men to do that in that time. And I'm not sure other people have really that kind of same calling from God, if that's the term to use. I'm not quite sure. But I think I'm really glad that actually things have changed and moved, and it's probably now, it's never been an easier time to invite a friend to log in to church, to say, would you do an Alpha course, but we can do it on Zoom, or that it's so not threatening, and it's so much easier, I think, in a way, to do it now, and to be involved in that is amazing, and I actually really love it. And I think Alpha courses are amazing, and I know there are lots of other different courses that you can run and do, and we have tried some of those, and we always come back to Alpha because I just think it is such a great tool. And
I can't agree more. Having just, like, last night we had a curry with the people that have just finished Alpha with us, and on Sunday someone who has become a Christian is being baptized, and I just think Alpha is the best thing, certainly is. I think for me as well with the whole mission thing, I think I love being part of a church that I know that week after week I could invite people to look at or engage with what we're doing. And I think perhaps in the past church hasn't quite been the place of that sort of relevance, and so I think those big missions, I don't know, fitted somewhere else. I feel much more comfortable, as you're saying, week after week, just hitting the share button or saying to my friends, have a look at what we're doing this week. I think, yeah, it's been an easier thing to do, definitely. You talked about church and some of the courses and things that perhaps you run. So what is your church experience, or what has it been, or what was it? We're all changing, aren't we? What was it pre-COVID, and how are you as a church kind of navigating change?
Okay, so I'm currently involved with a church called Turning Point, which meets in, well, did meet in Forres, up in Scotland, and yeah, so we're a fairly new church, so we're only 3 years old. So it's kind of fairly, actually we're 4 years old now, sorry. But so yeah, fairly small. So I mean, on a really good Sunday, we're only 50 people. So it's like much smaller than, but you know, given the current circumstances, I think probably smaller is going to be the way that some of us will have to move forward in that. And we are currently in the process of just starting to meet in groups of 3 households on a Sunday at 4 o'clock, which is when we normally meet, to watch what we put out online, but watch it together and just kind of chat and have a cup of tea or some food or something. So we're just in the process of doing that. Now, obviously, England has kind of gone slightly different at the moment, so maybe that won't happen down here, but certainly in Scotland at the moment, you can still meet inside, no more than 8 people, but 3 households. So.
Yeah. That sounds exciting. I like the idea of that. That sounds, you know, like New Testament church, really, coming together as small communities of people to do church together. Sounds really great. So Judith, life sounds lovely with your boys grown up and having lovely times with them and church, and sounds super. But I know that life hasn't always been really easy for you, and I know that you have really suffered with illness. Do you want to tell people just about how poorly you have actually been?
Yeah, so back in 80, oh my goodness, so it's a long time ago, in the 80s, middle to late 80s, I got a virus, and it lodged itself in part of my brain that affected my muscular and nervous systems, and and so I became really tired, and muscles really hurt. I couldn't touch them. It was so tender, so sore. And was really quite unwell. And I was seeing doctors and going to hospital and having tests and all that kind of thing. And I was in hospital one particular spell, and they were giving me huge quantities of steroids, which is my excuse for why I'm the size I am. And so they were pumping them in via a drip just to get the big quantities in, to see if they could try and get muscles responding and working. And it was during that time they were actually starting to work, and I was able to get out of bed, and I decided one day to have a bath. Now that was quite a treat for me, because actually I hadn't been able to do that kind of thing by myself for a long time, and so it was such a treat to go and have a bath and wash all those bits that you all want to wash by yourself. And so I'd done that, and when I came out of that bath, I thought, oh my goodness, I've had it too hot. I felt really unwell, really weird, and was trying to walk back to my bed and was holding onto the wall, and a nurse just came and said, "Are you all right?" And she took me back to my bed, and I lay down, and then when I woke up, I had an itch on my nose, and I went to scratch it, and I couldn't move my arms off the bed. It's like they were dead weight. And I thought, oh, what's the matter with my arms? And so I thought, I'll leave it a few minutes, try again, etc., etc. And I thought, oh my goodness, if my arms aren't working, let me. So I tried to move my legs, and I couldn't move my legs, and I couldn't move my head, and I couldn't move my facial muscles, and it just seemed my whole body had just like shut down and decided to not work, basically. Which was quite frightening. I have to say. I'd been ill probably about 3 years up until that point, and I'd kind of understood what was going on, and suddenly I didn't understand this at all. And the nurse came to get me up for my physio later in the afternoon, and she couldn't get me up, and so she kept trying to kind of make me stand and that kind of thing, and I couldn't weight bear. And even towards the end of that day, even the muscles around my lungs weren't working properly, and it was really hard to breathe as well, and just everything had shut down. So
that sounds very frightening, and I know for your family around, it was a very difficult time, because you are just so poorly. But I also know that you have an amazing story of what God has done in your life, and the healing that He brought about. Do you wanna share your story?
Yeah. So quite often I always tell the very first story of when God did something amazing in my life, and I'll do that very quickly if you don't mind, because actually it and I'll explain more. So while I was laying in this hospital bed, one of my first visitors that came to see me was the vicar of the church that I was actually working for when I first went ill. And he came in to see me, and he thought, oh my goodness, this girl is dying before my eyes. What am I going to do? So he went home, he sat in his study, and he said, come on, God, what are we to do? And so he opened his Bible, and he said, literally, it opened at James 5. That talks about if someone is sick, then the elders of the church should get together, anoint that person with oil, and pray for them, and God would hear the prayers and would heal the person. So he thought, okay, I've never done this in my life before, but I will go. So he rooted around his garage, and he found some linseed oil that he puts on his cricket bat. And he got a few people together, and they came back into the hospital, and they wheeled me into this special ward, and they anointed me with oil, and they prayed for me. And Helen, nothing instantly physically happens to me on the outside, as it were, but something incredible happened on the inside of me. And I think, I was really, I just didn't understand what was happening to me physically, and I couldn't communicate, I couldn't talk, I couldn't reason, I couldn't do anything. And so I think, I was just that fear and that panic that was rising inside of me. When they prayed for me, it was just like all that just flooded out of me. And God replaced it with this most incredible peace. I cannot describe it, but it was the most beautiful and the most lovely thing. And as I say, nothing changed outwardly. I still couldn't move and talk and anything. And they wheeled me back onto the ward, and the lady that was in the bed opposite me said, oh, I don't know what happened to you in there, but something's changed. Your face looks different. And I thought, oh, but nearly 2 weeks after they had prayed for me, I was able to stand on the tilt table, because up until that point I couldn't weight bear, so they had to strap me onto this table and slowly get me upright. And then 2 weeks and 2 days later, I woke up one morning and I saw colour, and I could see something, because up until that point I'd not been able to see anything other than if someone shone a light into my eyes. So I'd been blind for 2 and a bit weeks, and I remember opening my eyes in the morning, and I'm thinking, I can see colour. There were flowers in the days when you could have flowers in hospital. And my mum and dad came up to see me that day, and they walked in the ward and I could see them, and it was
Wow.
unbelievable. Everything was so vivid. And then they discharged me from hospital, and 2 weeks after that I was playing tennis. It's just like unbelievable. And the doctors said they couldn't believe it because
Right.
my muscles had wasted away so incredibly, because I hadn't been able to use them for years and years. And there I was playing tennis, and it was just like, when it came back, all the strength, all the muscle, everything came back like normal. It was unbelievable.
That's incredible. And I imagine the reaction of your family and your friends, and I guess the medical staff as well was one of, at the very least, surprise.
Really. And I mean, the nurses couldn't kind of believe it, and because I was discharged quite quickly afterwards, because I was well, people would turn up and say, well, where's she gone? And they hadn't realised that I just got well. And so that was incredible, and God was amazing.
Amazing. How wonderful to have that story. Sorry.
It is. And that is the story that I often tell. But I had then a period of being really well, and that is when I met Ronnie during that time, and we got engaged and were due to be married when the virus came back again. And I was, it just happened all over again, all the same symptoms, all the and I was in Ipswich Hospital this time instead of being in Sheffield, and I was fed by an NG tube because I just couldn't drink and eat and swallow and that kind of things.
Did that have impact on your faith? Did that make you, if you were so certain that God had healed you and he had done this miraculous thing, that's confusing, isn't it? If you then become ill again.
Yeah, but what can you do about it? It's just the way it is, isn't it? And you have to kind of get on and think, okay, this isn't what I wanted, this isn't what I thought was going to happen, but it has. And actually, God's promise to never leave you is so, is so there. And I think I knew he was with me, and I knew that he'd answered prayer before, and I knew he could do it again. And I didn't know when, and I didn't know how, and I didn't know if it would be the same or anything. But and I think, being surrounded by family and friends is incredible as well, and family and friends that have a faith and keep believing and keep trusting, even when it, the signs aren't, what you want them to be.
I think you're an amazing example of that. I think it's stuff I identify with in my own life as well, that we're not always going to understand everything. We're not always going to like it. But what God says is, trust me, and he promises that he'll go through it with us. He won't always remove the pain, but he promises to go through it with us. It's an amazing story and testimony, Judith. It really is.
It's and I was just going to share this because I'm actually sitting in this very room at the moment that I had a bed in when I was not well that time, and Steve and Sarah were leading what was Little Brockford, I think, back in those days, and they really got up one morning and they said, we need to take communion to Jew and to have church at Elm Farm. And so they didn't meet at Brockford, and they all came here, and we had communion together. And I was in a wheelchair sitting here, and after that they prayed for me. And once again, God just did something amazing. And it was as Steve and Sarah were praying for me, I just had this tingle down my arm, and I thought, something's happening. I know God is on the move and God is doing something. And as they were talking, I got this slightest movement in my wrist, and it just got more and more and more. And then I could move my hand, and and that was just incredible. And it's just like, God just uses anyone that is obedient to them. And so whether it's a vicar in Sheffield, or whether it's Steve and Sarah, or whoever, God just uses people that are obedient. And
and doesn't he really want us to trust him? And when we feel prompted to do something, we should do it, shouldn't we? Isn't it great that they both felt that prompting that morning, and they didn't think, oh, what if we're not right, or what if we're mishearing, but they just went, let's go,
let's do it.
Go. Fantastic. Oh, I love your story, I really do. So get us up to speed with your life. What are you up to now? What's using up and filling life for you at the moment?
Okay, well, funnily enough, in February this year, I handed my notice in. I had been working at Gordonston, which is a boarding school up near us. And I had been working with the pastoral team there. And I just felt that I had, after 11, nearly 12 years, I'd just come to the end of that time. So I'd handed my notice in. And then, of course, lockdowns happened. So, So, but the whole idea was really, having had another spell of being unwell just recently, the idea was that I give up work and have a bit of time to kind of try and look after myself a bit, be free, perhaps to come to Suffolk and see my mum and dad, and to give more time to our church and just the various things that I'm involved with there. So sounds really lovely. Lovely as well that you're in Suffolk. I really appreciate you giving us some time, because I know you're here with your family. Seeing you in your mum and dad's room just makes me really aware of, as a church, there are people that I would see on a weekly basis, but they're not people that I'm now seeing. And your mum and dad literally have been there since the beginning of what was MCF and now is the Forge. I miss them. Are they okay? They are okay, for a couple of oldies, but don't tell them I said that.
Oh, I'm glad. Do send them my love.
I will do.
Really do miss them. Judith, it has been a real privilege to talk to you. It's been just inspirational. I love your faith, and I love your story of your healing, and I love how you are going on with God and finding life still exciting and interesting. And it's and I love that you're a Suffolk girl and you're back in Suffolk at the moment. But thank you so much for giving us some time. Really, really lovely to speak to you. See ya.
Thank you. And can I say thank you to you, because you and the team at the Forge do such an amazing job. We love tuning into you, and I have lots of friends in Scotland who tune into you as well, and we really appreciate all that you do, and you are such a great host. I love what you do, Helen.
That's so kind of you. Thank you. And that's lovely to hear about people in Scotland watching and tapping into us as well. That's amazing. Thank you. Great to speak to you, Judith. See you.
All right. Bye for now, Helen.
Bye.